a bit of sad news. So as one of the biggest Brown dealers in the UK, we get regular updates from Brown in Belgium, and this week we had an email to say that they were going to cease production of the Winchester Select shotgun range. Now, the Winchester Select range is marketed under the Winchester umbrella, which is part of Brown in Winchester Miracle, which is essentially here we buy our Brown in Winchesters and Miracles. I'm sure you worked that out. And this, for me, is a sad moment because I've known these guns for a long time. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the history of them and a bit about the current range and why you might want to get your hands on one before they become obsolete altogether. So, following the demise of the Browning Medalist in the, I think about late 90s, 97, 98, something like that, Browning hadn't really got anything for somebody starting off the sport. You know, the masses of sort of club level shooters that had loved the Medalist so dearly when it was a bestseller, because the Medalist was made under license in Italy by a company called Fias Sabatti, but it carried the Browning name. So really, it was a bit of a con because it wasn't made by Browning. It hadn't got Browning on the gun or on the box, but for some reason they managed to get away with calling the Browning Medalist. They sold in boatloads because it was like, oh bloody hell, a cheap Browning, great gun. And when that finished, they looked for something else, and this is what they came up with. So about 2000-ish from memory, they bought something out under the Winchester umbrella called the Winchester Supreme. Now this was a gun that was again made under license with the Winchester brand behind it, but it was made in Portugal in the Viana factory, which is where the Browning Maxus and I think previously the Browning Gold autos were made, and the Maxus is still produced there today. So what they did at the time is they came up with something that was about 600 quid, 600 or 700 quid from memory, but it had an awful lot of features. So what you've got is, if we look at these guns here, which haven't really changed much from the original Select, is you got backboard barrels. Now at the time, no one was backboarding barrels. Bretters weren't overboard, they hadn't bought out the likes of the Goldies and that sort of stuff yet, or just about bought out the Goldies. So on the Sporter, for example, the Select Sporter, which we haven't got here to show you, but like I said, the action and barrels haven't changed for 20 odd years. You got Invector Plus multi-chokes, backboard barrels, they were ventilated, they were adjustable triggers. And for the money, it was a really popular gun because it got the name behind it, the warranty behind it, and most of all, it was affordable. For people who are starting off, wanted something better than like a Lambert or a Lincoln, it was that next step up between a sort of silver K6 Silver Pigeon and a 525, and it sat smack bang in the middle, 7-ish, 100 quid from memory, and they were great. And what we've got here is the oldest model, which is similar to the Supreme. What they did is they changed it to something called the Select. Now I think this is about 2002-ish, something like that. Exactly the same gun, bit of a facelift, and the most funky one they did was called the Select Energy Sporting. Now that had extended red chokes, but the checkering was almost like drips of oil. Yeah, if you've seen one, you'll know exactly what I mean. With an adjustable comb, with high vis foresight, and that was a real game changer because it was like 1100 quidish. You got adjustable comb and then obviously the backboard barrels and stuff. And pricing, they just got it absolutely right. So this model is the game version that they brought out. This one is I think about 2006, and this is the Select Platinum. They did build the early on they called it the Supreme Elegance. Again, when they changed from Supreme to Select, it was simply a name change, slightly different box, etc, etc. But this was nice because it was one of the first guns that I remember to have sort of fine-ish game scene engraving, because if you bought a Lambert or something like that, it was clearly rolled on because you could see where the man almost pulled the press down, and this was just a bit more English looking. I think they actually did one as well called an English Field or an English Game or something like that, which was fine scroll work without the game scene, which again was quite popular. So this particular model is 28-inch game. It's got a 6mm narrow game rib. It was quite traditional looking in that it's quite a swept back pistol grip, double point checkering, a Patmeyer style recoil pad. But like I said at the time, it got, going back in the early days of the late 90s, 2000 when this gun came out, Backboard barrels weren't really a thing, particularly on cheaper guns. So to find something that was backboard with longer chokes was really, really good. And I think it was, at the time, I wouldn't say groundbreaking, but it was impressive. 3-inch chambers. This one is still shot proof because it's 2006. But, you know, this is a used gun that's just come in. I don't know what it is, it's like 800 quid or something like that, I'll have to check. But for that kind of money, you're still getting a brand, okay? And don't get me wrong, it isn't made in Japan by Winchester because they don't exist anymore. But you're getting a brand that's synonymous with shooting, nice bit of engraving, nice bit of timber. The balance isn't bad, to be fair. And you know, I would say to somebody, maybe consider one of these against something like a new Turkish one, like an ATA or a Yildiz or something like that, because they are a nice little gun. And like I said, I've sold an awful lot of them in my time, and I am a bit sad to see them go. So moving on. So as well as the game guns, they did a competition range. They did a Sporter, which I've talked about, the Select Energy and the Standard Select, and before that was called the Supreme, just to recap. And they also did a trap gun. So we've actually got a trap gun here, a modern trap gun. So this is, as you can see, quite a lot different to the game gun. It's got a much tighter radius in the pistol grip. It's got a factory adjustable comb, beaver tail forend, a crazy wide rib. I think that's about 30, maybe 15 mil parallel rib, with obviously a slight taper just before the breech. But where this fitted in for us quite nicely was if you got somebody that didn't want to spend a huge amount of money but wanted, you know, good stock dimensions but also multi-choke, you know, rather than buying a trap gun that has sort of been teagued, then this was good because it was multi-choke, it was obviously selective trigger. Some traditional trap guns aren't selective trigger. And just to point out, over the years, Browning have offered various warranties, but most commonly they've offered 5-year warranties on these guns. Now, when you consider that these aren't made by Brown and they're made under license in Portugal, I think that's really good. I think that's testament to the fact that they are well made. And in all fairness, I'll come on to the lightweight version next, and I'll talk specifically about the fact that in all the years I've known these guns, they haven't really given us a lot of grief. So that's the trap one. Obviously, beaver tail forend, tight pistol grip, adjustable comb, ridiculously wide rib. Not a fan of that at all. Looks dreadful. I think it would be much better with a tram line. I think it would just sort of make it a bit more subtle, but it's not. Okay, Invector Plus multi-choke. Again, has all the Select Supremes. What was it called before? No, Select Supremes. Okay. Touching on the engraving of the Select trap, which was unique to this particular model, and you probably won't see many of these. It's got sort of this quite old looking scroll work that you expect to find maybe on a dueling pistol from the 1700s. Now, coming on to the Select Light. As the name suggests, this is an alloy action lightweight game shotgun designed for walked up game shooting, wandering around, half a dozen shots, carrying it over your shoulder. But I discovered early on that there was an alternative use for this particular model. So if you bought a lightweight, let's just take it apart and show you what I mean. Okay, so if you look in there, you can see that the action is alloy, and it's got this sort of titanium insert in, and that's just in all fairness is to take up the wear and the hammer, the constant use and the constant fire and injection. Obviously this is a gun that was designed for walked up game shooting, so it's designed to be very light. I mean, this is sort of under £7 because the stock is very hollow, the action is very light, the barrels are 28-inch, they've got a bit of the rib missing towards the sort of the forend end. And at the time, if you wanted, when this gun was launched, but this is quite a late one, I think this is about 2004 or 5 when this model came out, the lightweight version. If you wanted to buy a lightweight gun, then the go-to model was the kind of Beretta Ultralight. Now the problem with the Beretta Ultralight is its nominal board, so the recoil is flipping horrendous, whereas these are overboard, as in all the Selects. So if you wanted if you wanted like a lady or a junior to make a transition up to 12 bore, then it had certainly got the weight, but also it got that little bit more recoil absorption because of the technology in the barrels, which I liked. We went one step further and we decided, because as we do here at Premier Guns, we are all about fitting and stock dimensions. Now, I think the dimensions of that are ridiculous because they're super, super low. I mean, if you look at the line from the comb, which is on a hell of a drop towards the back of the action, you can see that quite clearly that is not going to fit a lot of people, particularly the ladies and juniors that you could argue this gun was suitable for. So what we did is we took a standard 14 3/4 length stock, which has got this curved, which is traditional Browning, don't get me wrong, dreadful butt plate, which has got far too much toe in for said ladies and juniors because it digs in, and we shortened it, put an adjustable comb on it, and put a specific no toe ladies Kiki rocker pad on. But this has been professionally shortened by us with this Kiki's rounded toe ladies recoil pad by us and adjustable comb fitted. And what we found with this gun is, even though it was lightweight and you could shoot 21 grams out of the standard gun no problem at all, that because it was too long, too low and had too much toe on it, it really wasn't a great gun for most people. So with this, we call this the custom lady. Okay, what we ended up with is a really cost effective versus something like a Beretta ultralight. I'm going to keep going back to that because that is the direct comparison I would make. Clay shooter gun for ladies that didn't want to go to the expense of running a 20 gauge, because we can get the comb height, because we can set the comb up, adjust the adjustable comb accordingly. You've got a slightly shortened stock. Now typically we would build these to 14 inches, maybe 13 3/4, but because what we tend to do is carry the guns on the shelf and fit them to the specific requirements of the customer, it's not a problem. We can make them as long or as short as you like. So, but we tend to find most ladies, and we'll come on to this we've got a lot of ladies shooting videos planned, about 13 3/4 to 14 inches is the right sort of length of pull. 9 times out of 10 they need an adjustable comb. So like I said, what we achieved with this, with the modifications we were making to this gun, was really, really successful. We have supplied tons and tons of ladies with these, and like I said, the prime reason for this is because it's cost effective to run just for clay pigeon shooting, because you're not spending a load of money on 20 gauge cartridges. Of course, they're more available, of course, in standard 12 gauge 21 gram format, and if you did want to go and shoot a little bit of game, we've got customers that have shot game with these, then certainly with 28 grams it would be okay as well. You know, it wouldn't be massively traumatic in terms of the felt recoil, which you would get if you went back to something that was nominal bored. So the combination of the overboring, the recoil pad, and of course the fit inside it with the adjustable comb and the reduced length makes this an ideal choice for ladies. So the Select Light, as you would imagine a lightweight game gun would have, has got game scenes on it. Now they did two versions. The standard Select Light, which you have here, which has got this sort of coin finished action with, don't get me wrong, not particularly well executed game birds on the side, but again these are rolled on to a price. And then they did one called the Select Light Gold, which for a tiny bit more money you got gold game birds, which always seemed to be the better seller when women were involved because it was a bit more blingy. Pheasant picked out in gold, and then on the other side we have got woodcock picked out in gold, and on the underside we have got a dog scoffing a partridge in gold, of course. But you know, it's not over the top. I think it suits the style of the gun. Same time, if they didn't want the bling, they would just go for the standard gun. But like I said, this is a gun, we've got demos of these guns that have had an awful lot of hammer. So mechanically, they are really, really well made. And like I keep reiterating, it will be sad to see them go. Now we have got quite a stock of them left. So if anybody would like to try one, buy one, get in touch, find out more details, then please get in touch. You can comment below, you can call us at the shop, you can drop us an email, however you wish to communicate. It's also worth pointing out that we are currently in a very exciting stage of a giveaway. So if anybody that buys or reserves a shotgun at Premier Guns from the 1st of June to I think the 27th or 8th of July will automatically go into a free prize draw to win a brand new Koff Zenith, which is a new steel action Koff, which is being launched by the Turkish manufacturing giants of budget price guns shortly, with 600 quid. So all you've got to do is literally, even if you're waiting for your license, you can just reserve a shotgun and you'll go in the draw, and we will make the draw live at the game fair at the end of July. So not only will you be have the option to buy one gun, you might even win one as well. So that's it. This has been the story of the demise of the Winchester Select, a gun that I'll always hold quite dearly in my catalogue of stuff. And hats off to Browning, did a great job, lasted 20 odd years, sold a ton of them. More importantly, didn't get many back, and that's just speaking from personal experience. But if you do want any more information on them, please do get in touch and we will do our best to help. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I've been Matt Morgan, this is the Winchester Select Light. See you soon.